Alright guys, welcome back to Nova's Friends. We're going to start where we left off last time.
Well, we did it again. We forgot to take loose the parking brake assembly. Alright, here's all the little bits of stuff we've got out so far. Got our lower column support seal, lower column brackets to column column. There's the code for a 3-speed column.
Here's a quick tech tip for you. Use an appropriately sized wrench to go over your parking brake cable, down, and against this retainer. Now it's going to take some effort to rotate around, but as you can see, it's made it down to the bottom. So you should, in theory, be able to push the parking brake cable out. As you can see, our parking brake cable slipped out with quite a bit of a fight. Now all you need is to pull the rest of it down. Watch out for the cable as it makes its way out.
Reproductions of these cables are available in stainless steel nowadays, but we are going to reuse this one for this budget build. Action.
Alright, you can use a red nut driver then to pull out your bolts.
It may be a little snug because they've been in there for 50 years or more. Make sure you save this hardware too, like any hardware, as a lot of it is custom length. Reproduction wiring harnesses are also available. They are made by a very reputable company, made in the USA. We'll be saving the wiring harness on this car though, since this is a budget build. If you haven't already, you should have disconnected your engine harnesses. We failed to note this, as this had already been previously done on this car. Now, this fuse panel is actually in pretty good condition. No major corrosion on the back side of it. And the connectors all look good. No corrosion there. As you can see, there's a clip up here that is welded to the body retainer. That comes loose, and then we can work on removing the rest of it. But right now we're just going to hold that in place, allow that to hold some of the weight, and we'll remove it when we remove all the rest of the accessories and dash. Alright.
As you can see down here with the speedo cable, on this year at least, it unthreads and then just slips off like that.
Then the cable routes around, goes behind this firewall pad, and the cable itself has a grommet that's already attached with 3 prongs that grab onto the firewall. You'll have to carefully push those 3 prongs towards the middle, and that will release the grommet from the firewall, allowing the cable to slip through towards your transmission. This car's transmission has already been removed, so squeeze these 3 prongs gently inwards, and this cable will come right out. Once you've pushed out those clips towards the middle and the grommet comes out, there's a small clip here on the firewall that you have to gently pull out from the firewall, just enough to get the cable out. You don't want to overbend it, as this will need to be retaining the cable in future. That's what this speedometer end of the speedometer cable looks like. Also another clip down here towards the transmission. These clips here on the firewall and on the transmission are welded to the body, so replacing them can be brutal. Speak pause.
As you can see here, there's a retaining clip against this stud. What you can do is just pry this off just gently enough, and it should just slip off like that.
This holds the wiper arm linkage, which is inside of these cars, holds it in place to the wiper motor. Then the linkage itself can come off, and there is your wiper motor. Always remember to detach this linkage before pulling your wiper motor. Otherwise, you'll be under here doing it again.
Alright, what we're going to use is a 5/16 yellow nut wrench to take out these 1, 2, and 3 machine screws. As you can see, these are relatively short to some of the other screws that we have been taking out. Make sure to hold this still in case it tries to come off. Then, it should just come off. Like that. As you can see, the seal is quite worn out. It's actually bent in here some.
You also see here the overspray and how bent this one lip is right here. I wonder how that got that way. Probably factory. No worries. It did damage the seal a little bit on the wiper motor, so we will adjust that and address that when we do the rest of the firewall repairs.
Alright, and now it's time for us to remove the throttle linkage by taking out these 7/16 bolt and nut. After it fighting us for a little while, we decided we should just take it out without taking it off. So it can just stay like this in one piece for now. Alright, to remove the wiper arms, we're going to take a plenty of rags so we do not dent up the cowl pan, put a thin piece of wood down, lay the screwdriver here, and just gently pry up on here so that it doesn't skip off, and put a big scratch down the side of it or skip off and hit the cowl pan, and just gently pry up on it.
They also have another tool that spreads this, but most of those are pretty unreliable and don't do a good job, and also damage the paint on the cowl. You may or may not be able to see this, but underneath there is a teeny tiny retaining clip. Most of the time they don't fasten, but if they do, you'll have to get in there with your screwdriver and just push that clip just out of the way just a little bit while you're prying up on it with the other screwdriver. Miles, how many people do you think you should have for this job?
At least 2.
And a third one to yell at if it goes wrong.
Alright, so we got ahead a little bit. So what we did is we took these screws out, so you can see here, really large screws, out from the bottom of here, so that we could take the heater and air conditioning, if you have that option, controls out. What you're going to do is you're going to push them in, lower the back of it, should just swing its way on out. Then you can disconnect the wiring right here and move it out of the way. Alright, to remove the heater box, right here, this bracket down here, you're going to need a blue 3/8" nut driver and a brown 7/16 nut driver. You're going to use the blue one on the outside and the brown one on the inside. By having the windshield wiper motor out of the way, you can use the hole that created to do it by yourself.
Like, comment, and subscribe to Novin Friends for these tips and tricks you won't find anywhere else.
As you take your arm back in, make sure not to drop this little nut down here, because it might be a pain to find later.
And inside, here's the bracket we were showing you. Also, there's this little spacer you need to remember to grab that gives enough of room for the firewall pad, so when you reinstall it, you don't over squish the firewall pad.
Alright, you're going to have to then reach underneath and disconnect the blower motor resistor wiring from the heater box. You will want to support the heater box while you're doing this. Then you're going to want to go to the firewall and remove those nuts. Alright, what you're going to want to do then is take a brown 7/16 nut wrench and take out these 3 speed nuts. You're going to want to take out the bottom or lower 2 first, then have someone on the inside support as you take the final one out so that the heater box doesn't fall on the floor and put a dent or hole in it. So if your heater box has been replaced, you may be missing this piece of hardware. Fortunately, this piece of hardware is still here as the factory intended, holding it up. If your heater box doesn't have this piece of hardware, you may want to install one. To remove it, use a 5/16 yellow nut driver. Now, he's going to gently reach in and take the heater box out. If before this you forgot to remove the blower motor wiring and resistor, make sure to remove it now. Now it's time to remove the heater box to cowl pan vent. To remove this, you're going to take out the 4 screws with the 5/16 nut driver. So what we're doing now is we're doing our best to use this putty knife to scrape the glue seam open. This is quite a hard job to do. Here it is. You can see all the glue that they pumped in at the factory. That's why these are really hard to get out.
But a good item to take out and reseal, as when it rains, all the water can go around it. They make this longer here, so the water hopefully doesn't make its way into the heater box. But on some torrential downpours, as some guys will know, on beautiful thunderstormy days at car shows, you can get water in your heater box and in your carpet. This is a General Motors flaw, but 60s engineering.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.